So, hello everyone. Let's start our study today with a quick prayer, just asking for guidance, inspiration, for protection, so that we may observe the study, the message that we are receiving today, and that somehow it may sink in and slowly transform ourselves, which is its purpose. So, with the permission of the benefactors, we start our study today. So be it. Hello, Natalia and Gabriel. Yeah.
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Okay.
Nice to meet you,
Good.
Munir. Nice
Welcome.
to meet everybody in the group.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Hello, welcome.
Thank
Welcome
you.
here.
Okay, I'll share the book and then we can resume from last week. Here we are. Okay, so we are studying chapter 31. And this chapter 31 is about the message dissertations by spirits. So these are messages directed. In this case, the ones we are reading now, they are directed to the groups. And we are starting today with message 22. And it starts by saying, you have asked whether or not a large number of groups in the same area might provoke rivalries that are harmful to the doctrine. So the problem is, shall we have many groups, sometimes smaller groups, in an area? Shall we have just one large group? So what is the best scenario for the purpose of Spiritism, which is our moral improvement? So Fenelon carries on saying, I will respond that if they have been imbued with the true principles of this doctrine, they will see all Spiritists as brothers and sisters, not as rivals. This is something that we have to be very careful. Spiritist groups should, in all possible ways, collaborate and not, become rivals, start a kind of competition which is not healthy for Spiritism, for the groups, for its members. For if the purpose is the moral improvement of all of us, so the groups should be organized in a way to attend to the needs of perhaps special grouping of people, and not to be the largest one, the most famous one, the one with the largest bank account and so on. No, the purpose of that is our moral improvement. Whatever works in an opposite direction, we should then reevaluate it. And basically that's what Fenelon is going to advise us to do. Those who regard other groups with jealousy would thereby show that they had ulterior motives of self-interest or vanity, and that they were not guided by love for the truth. I can guarantee that if such persons were amongst you, they would soon cause trouble and disunity. So we see that self-interest, vanity, jealousy, whatever is against the teachings that we have within Spiritism. So we should, read ourselves off when dealing with Spiritist groups. Sometimes it's because, that group now has so many people and we are so few. Then it starts this, thing, there is a competition those groups, they always have some famous speakers, guest speakers. And these guest speakers don't come to our small center, small group. And all these, petty things, in my perception, that will compromise the work. Because if the group is there, it's open, it is for the only purpose of helping people to improve morally. And if you have this kind of situation, it won't help. It won't help at all. And then Fenelon carries on. True Spiritism has benevolence and charity as its motto. It condones no other rivalry except in the amount of good that can be done. So in this case, he says, the rivalry that should exist is, in the amount of good that can be done. Not the one that you make, you advertise, but the one that you do as, or in accordance to the examples of the gospel. You do, the left hand does, and the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing. So in the sense that we should do as much good as possible. And that is the purpose of the group, So all groups that have inscribed this motto on their banner can hold hands as good neighbors, who are no less friends just because they do not live in the same house. Those who intend to have the best spirits as their guides should prove it by displaying better sentiments. Let there be a rivalry amongst them, but a rivalry of greatness of the soul, of self-denial, of goodness and humility. Whoever casts a stone at another would prove him or herself to be influenced by evil spirits. The nature of the sentiments that individuals express toward one another is the touchstone by which we can recognize the nature of the spirits who assist them. So if we want to have a sound spiritist group, a sound spiritist center, we should then nurture these good sentiments and, of course, avoid any other inferiority or inferior sentiments that will go in the opposite direction to benevolence and charity. If this is the motto, the moral teachings at the center of the gospel, why are we behaving in a different way regarding spiritist centers? So we should be like, a family, a big family, where each one of us has his or her own house, but we are still a big family, helping one another and doing things for the good of everyone. That's how we should see spiritist centers. And it's natural that when a group starts to have too many members, it's too large, it is natural that the discrepancies in seeing, especially the way of running things, or, they start to, create polos. So we see polarization. It's natural. So in that situation, it's better to split into groups and keep the harmony, because not everyone does things exactly in the same way. Provided we keep benevolence and charity at the very center of our relationship, it's natural that when a group starts to, grow too much and becomes too large, it's natural. If, problems starts to arise, it's better to create two other groups, not as enemies, but as a family, where the members of that house, some of them, grew up and decided to have their own family. Well, are we becoming enemies because, our son, our brother decided to move and start his own family? No. It's the same within Spiritism, Spiritist centers. And the size of a Spiritist group is the one that keeps the harmony for that group. People who think differently in certain aspects, not regarding Spiritism, but sometimes in the day-to-day running of the Spiritist center, or the priority of the tasks within the Spiritist Center. Well, they should then organize themselves as a different group, and fine, we'll collaborate with them. We'll, do whatever we can to make sure that that group fulfills its tasks, but never become enemies. I've seen that in the past, groups becoming larger and larger, and then there was this eruption, and some people, went away. They were hurt. They started a new group, and the ones who stayed started to see them not as enemies, but started a kind of rivalry. And for the movement itself, for the purpose of moral improvement of humanity, it did no good. And then slowly we had to do that work and start, to collaborate and see, well, we want you to carry on doing, the good work, and we want to do the good work as well. And sometimes it's best if we split, but we are, like brothers, or sisters, and we should always help one another. But it's very difficult. We are full of imperfections, and we bring our imperfections even to the Spiritist Center, to Spiritist activities. But we should watch out and work hard, especially when we are working within Spiritism, to suppress any imperfections we see in us and try to think, as it's been said, in terms of benevolence and charity. If I'm, a natural leader, perhaps my leadership won't be very good for the Spiritist Center because, I'll have people working for me according to my ideas, according to the priorities I think are the right ones. Then I should just, keep perhaps a lower profile and let other people also give their opinion and come to, a collective conclusion, what is best. Perhaps I don't see it that way, but I have to accept, at least there, in my job and other places, I can be whoever I am. But if I have these traces of certain views that I have of things, the way things should be done, and that affects the Spiritist work, then within the Spiritist movement, Spiritist Center, Spiritist activities, I should work really hard not to let this side of me interfere with the values that are so dear to Spiritism. And in this case, as Fenelon has pointed out, benevolence and charity. So number 23, this is from St. Louis. Silence and concentration are essential conditions for all serious communications. You will never receive such communications when attraction to your meetings results only from curiosity. So make sure that curiosity seekers go elsewhere for entertainment, for their distraction would be a cause of trouble. You must not tolerate any talking while the spirits are being questioned. Sometimes we receive communications that are required serious replies from you and responses that are no less serious from the spirits you evoke, but who feel displeased when certain participants are whispering to each other. Nothing complete or truly serious can be received while they are doing so. Also, the mediums who are writing experience distractions that are very harmful to their work. So basically, St. Louis talks about two things. The impact of having people within the activity, in this case, would be the mediumistic meeting, more specifically. People who are there out of curiosity, not with the intention to actually take part in the work, to learn and dedicate him or herself to the exchange with the spirit world. And also the fact that, some people may get distracted during the meeting and even talking, and that would in the same way disturb the meeting, and of course disturb the communication, and create the environment that is not the right one to receive communication from good spirits. So all these messages, the previous one and this one, gives us an idea of the kind of spirit we are attracting according to our behavior, because it shows basically that depending on how we do our job, how we behave when doing our job, when carrying on the meetings, the type of spirit we will attract. We know that our behavior will attract certain type of people. People will have a natural affinity because we like making jokes. We like, not taking things seriously, always joking about everything. And well, we will attract people who are like that, and it's the same in regard to the way we carry on the spiritists meetings. In this particular case, spiritist mediumship work. Okay, shall we go to the next? Number 24. I shall address the need for you to observe the greatest regularity when you hold your sessions, meaning that you must avoid all confusion and divergence of ideas. Divergence invites the replacement of good spirits with evil ones. And when that happens, they are the ones who respond to your questions. On the other hand, during a meeting composed of several participants who do not know one another, how can contradictory ideas, distractions, and worse yet, a vague and scoffing indifference be avoided? I would like to find some efficient and secure means for this. Perhaps it could be found in the concentration of the diffused fluid surrounding the mediums. It is they alone, especially the ones who are most highly regarded, who keep the good spirits at the meeting, but their influence can hardly dissipate the disturbance that frivolous spirits can cause. Your effort at examining the communications are excellent. So here is George's familiar spirit. He is talking about, again, what kind of spirit we are going to attract when we have in this gathering people who don't know one another, when they think in different way, they are there for different purposes. Sometimes people we don't know, people who come and go all the time, different people. So we create a kind of divergence, as it says, that is not beneficial for good spirits. And they say it's not because the good spirits are too sensitive, too touchy, and say, oh, no, I'll go away. No, it creates even, we could say, a physical, inverted commas, situation regarding fluids. Because the fluids emanated by each participant, we know it is very important. And that's why to have a homogeneous, a group that, nurtured good sentiments for all its members, it's very important, because then we have the strengthening of a common fluidic condition. Whereas when we have people in different conditions there who, are strangers to, the others, it creates, it dissipates the fluids. It creates sometimes even a situation where we have conflicting types of fluids, and makes the good communications more difficult. And so in the end, at the end of this paragraph, the Spirit George even emphasizes that, the effort at examining the communications are excellent. And again, we don't know. Sometimes it's so subtle that, we may not meet certain conditions, and on specific occasions, the communications are not at the same level that they used to be, or we have interference from spirits, who are not the good ones, who are there to advise, give good advice to the group. That's why this examining is so important. And he's emphasizing that here, that it is excellent, the fact. Because if it happens, we should have means of evaluating, oh, today it wasn't that good. I felt that we kept on oscillating in fluidic terms. And so we received some messages. Let's go through these messages. So we should be extra careful and, evaluate with, examine the message with great care in order to see if the messages received are from really the good spirits, or we may have some messages from spirits who are not that good and are taking advantage of this oscillation in that particular day. It doesn't mean that the group is obsessed and, evil spirits will come in every session, provided we change that. Because we have some moments that, the members of a group are not well, and that combined creates, a day of certain imbalance. That's natural. We are there to make the effort to overcome that. But if it is not possible to solve the problem that day totally, at least we should then examine the results of that and, see what can be trusted, what cannot. Because I normally say spirits don't come with their ID to prove that, they are who they say they are. And they are attracted by the group, the condition of the group, the fluidic condition of the group. And sometimes when the group is not in good conditions, we may get interference from spirits who are there to disturb somehow the work that we are doing. Yes, I heard from, a medium who is very hard worker and within spiritism and mediumship. He said once, if we are not attracting the good ones, he said, Paul, the apostle, Paul Tarsus, he said, we are always being watched, always being watched. And then this medium said, if we are not being watched by good spirits, who is watching us then, if we are always being watched? So what he says is that our behavior, we call the attention of good spirits. If not, if what we are doing is not at their level, the level of the good ones, then who will pay attention to what we are doing? So to see that we should always make this effort to overcome our difficulties and imperfections. We have them. We are still far away from being pure spirits. It's natural. But as it's been said before many times, you recognize a good spiritist by the effort he or she makes to overcome his or her imperfections. It's the effort to overcome, and not just, let the imperfections, take control of everything and not do anything about it. You could never delve too much into studying the questions and especially the responses. Error is easy, even for spirits with the best intentions. Slowness of writing, during which the spirit departs from the subject that is exhausted as soon as it is conceived, the spirit's mobility and its indifference towards certain conventional forms. All these reasons and many others make it your duty to trust very slightly what you receive, and always to study it through examination, even when dealing with authentic communications. There's no problem in doubting the messages, in going through the messages in detail and analyzing it and sharing, everyone's opinion about that, and the good spirits won't be hurt because we are doing that. On the contrary, he says our efforts at examining the communications are excellent. So that's what we should do all the time. So we can pick up the messages that bring some doubt. And if what we received is true and it's intended to provide us to give us important information, he will come back later. The good spirits will never say, oh, no, they doubted, they checked it so many times now, I won't say anymore because they'll doubt me. No, good spirits won't do that. They'll come back, in any possible way to stress the content of the message so that, it's not because we doubted once that they will never bring that content again for us. Whereas, spirits who are not that evolved, and I'm saying not that evolved because sometimes they're not evil, as has been said. They have good intentions, they don't have the knowledge, I may die and come to mediumship group and give you guys a message. My intentions is the best one. That is my perception, but I may be wrong. You see, my perception may be very limited because I'm still a very imperfect spirit, but I come with good intention. And sometimes, when the group looks at that carefully, it will spot the mistake and say, no, oh, it is a mistake. The purpose, well, because I am imperfect. I tried to share my perception of things, but it's limited. So that's why he says even errors are common in messages of spirits who come with good intention, but who don't have enough knowledge, whose perception is still very much limited. It's not because we are in the spirit world that we had imperfections here. Those imperfections just vanished because we returned to the spirit world. Okay, no questions? No comments? Hello, Charles.
Hello, Moni. Everything crystal clear, isn't it? Very
Sorry?
short.
Yeah.
Direct to the purpose, no blah blah. So it's typical good message.
Yes, indeed, straight to the point. They go and pinpoint what is essential there, and each message talks about a slightly different aspect of the mediumship work. Yeah. Hello, Liz.
Hi guys. As we're talking about imperfections, Moni, I think it is important to highlight here that yes, we must as spiritists do that auto self-query, self-discovery and find out who we are. This is a lifelong thing. It is not going to happen from, overnight. And every existence shows us a quality that maybe we have to perfect or highlight, or emphasize within us. But when we identify something, and many people try to kind of just repress or put it aside because they think that is the way that they have to transcend those qualities that are not very positive, it creates more problems. For me, in my opinion, the more we can embrace ourselves in a loving way, and even with all the faults that we have, because we are still evolving spirits, we are here, still very close to our primitive self, and it's going to take a long time for us to be able to, evolve to the next step. And we just need to be aware at this point of those faults that we have, and try to observe them as they, perform in our daily lives, in our behavior, but not with eyes that, oh, I shouldn't, I have to cut it off outside of me. No, we need to understand this as a whole, us as a whole person, and remain like that, to be able to transcend those qualities that are not very positive to something that is positive, to change that direction, to change slowly how we engage, how we behave slowly, by understanding where it is coming from, what is it in me that makes me feel that way, make me do these things this way. Unfortunately, many of us, I'm sorry for being so long, unfortunately, many of us, because I guess this idea that, we have to cut those things out of us, don't want to see those qualities in us. It creates like that dance. I don't really want to see, I'm going to focus here, and then carry within you all that, bad shadow within us. And it is difficult if you don't want to see with loving eyes that part of you that is not very, positive or whatever at this moment. It makes things very difficult for you to be able to walk forward to become a better person. That's the whole point of my speak.
I agree with you, because the first commandment in this process of of change is know yourself. Know yourself. We have to know our weak points, our strong points, and we have to, slowly use our strong points in order to, transform the weak ones. And when we are engaged in this type of work within Spiritism, and particularly within mediumship, we are invited to have this opportunity to look at ourselves and see, reevaluate things. When we say moral transformation, is not knowing by heart the gospel or all the moral values, It's actually seeing, well, where am I failing? What part of me is, needs some strengthening, needs some, some change, some replacement, as it were, but not just say, no, I'll cut this, It's like pretending it's not there. When you say that, I pretend it's not there. No, I won't be selfish. I'll force myself not to be selfish. No, you have to understand why you were selfish. You have to understand and practice other virtues, and slowly selfishness, we have less and less room within you see, but it should be a natural process, not something forced. Otherwise, it becomes, like the old Pharisees, hypocrites. You pretend you are not, but in fact you are, you see.
Yeah. And, it's so important for us to remember that phrase in the gospel, because I think this phrase just summarizes all the other philosophies and religions that we have around the world. Love your neighbor as yourself. This is a conception that has been spread around the world throughout all the philosophies, that is there out there. Love your neighbor as yourself. And loving yourself is a very important part of the equation as well. And ignoring who you are and cutting out that part of you is mutilation, not loving yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. And pretending, or not accepting who you really are is almost like lying to yourself, And you don't grow lying to yourself. You need to see exactly who you are, know all the terrain. Know, as I said before, where you are really strong and where you need, some action. And then you say, yeah, I understand. I am like that, but I'm working towards getting better, So it's different from just saying, no, no, I'm not selfish. No, no possible way I was, but I'm no longer selfish. And then when you realize you are being very selfish, all of a sudden it's there, but you pretend it's not. So, it's accepting you, it's loving you, saying, yes, I've managed to get to this point now, but I want to improve. As I said before, it's the effort we make to become better that counts, not transforming overnight and saying, now I know spiritism and I'm, a saint, I'm a pure spirit now, I'm, perfect. No, it's not, it doesn't work that way. It says, now I'm going to face who I really am, whatever it is, whatever I find, I'll work hard to, get better. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Monier. I just wanted to say that one of the things that came to my mind when Liz was talking, and I agree with everything she said and that you've said so far, is trust. That's a big thing, that you've got to trust yourself. And sometimes that's a difficult thing to do. When I was in a group meeting the other night, a spiritist group meeting, something came to my mind and I had to say it. I felt compelled to say it at that point. And one of the other members of the group felt very connected to that message that came through. So for me, it doesn't, sometimes it just comes out of the blue. I just don't know. And I trust myself to say, well, I think I'm trusting myself enough more and more to say what comes through. It generally is a message not for me, but for others there. If it was something that I myself wouldn't like to hear, then I don't say anything, because I trust that it's probably not the right time to say it. It's not a message that is valid. In other words, a spirit that's got some bad intentions.
I see. But the way I see it is, since the medium is the channel, the medium shouldn't interfere with the content of the message. Let the content of the message be evaluated afterwards, because the channel should be passive. The spirit sends the message, you convey the message, and then at the other end, the message is received. And then you evaluate it. And one of the stumbling blocks when developing mediumship is exactly, we are always analyzing the content and filtering and saying, no, this is me, or no, this I won't say because I don't agree. Well, are you conveying the message, or are you, working in the message? That my piece of advice is, working as a channel, as medium, let it go through, and then evaluate. If an evil spirit is saying something that is going to hurt someone, or, well, that was the message that was received, and people will look at that and say, well, that does not or did not come from a good spirit. Good spirit will never say it. Will never interfere with our free will. We'll never say, oh, you were this, you were that, or you should do this, you should do that. They'll only, as Charles pointed out, they'll just give us, an idea of what is essential. And then we come to the conclusion and we evaluate us. As you said, sometimes some messages, we have the impression they were directed, to us, because we read and say, wow, I feel it is for me. We don't know if it was indeed for you, but you needed that message. See?
Yeah.
So my piece of advice is, just let it. It's not yours. The message is not yours. The message is from someone. It's like the postman saying, oh, no, look, Christine wrote this. No, but I think the other person won't like that. So I'll just scrap it and, and then gives the other person the message, or doesn't give, or say, no, I'll throw it away. It's best if that person does not receive. Well, I'm the postman. I'm not the author of the message, I'm not at the receiving end of the message. So
I guess it's about that, where you were saying about the group, the dynamics of the group.
Yeah.
This particular message, and it's only happened once where I held it back.
Yeah.
Is because of the dynamics of the group. That's the only reason.
I see.
Yeah.
I see your point. Okay. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
Okay. What's the time? Let's read then number 25. This message is by Massilian.
Hello.
Yeah.
I just would like to say one thing for Christina, because
Camila, yeah.
Sometimes we think that the person will not receive well some text or something that you can share, but it can be the opposite, right? It can be something that help the person recognize something and improve, right? Can be helpful. Indeed, something bad can be helpful. I think the spiritual world always try to get the worst things and transform in good things, right? Indeed, the worst can be good. I don't know if I could get the idea.
We are here to learn, all of us. That's the purpose of being here, is to learn. And of course, according to, actions, we have the reactions as a way for us to, get in the right track. It's like saying something and you want a feedback. And life is constantly giving us feedback from what we do. If we do the right way, we'll get very good feedback. If we're not doing the right way, so we get from life, the reaction that will help us do it the right way. So just before we start, here is written Massillon, but I think it's Massillon, Jean-Baptiste Massillon. He was a French preacher from the 17th century. So his message is, what is your purpose most of the time in asking the spirits to communicate? That's a wonderful question. Hi, Pablo.
Hi, Moni. It's just because Priscilla she doesn't have her mic enabled today, so she posted something in the chat. So I don't know if you want to make any comments on that.
Let me see. Yeah, sure. I'll read for the others. I understand that from the book, it happened in our Spiritist center. There is a possibility that the spirits not of high order will start sending messages that seem viable and good until we trust them enough so they can start slowly influencing us in the wrong way. Is it normal or is it an extreme case? I would say that sometimes yes, but it has to be a very intelligent spirit in order to try to disguise who he or she really is with nice words, repeating something that you already know. Love one another starts the message there. But then when we do that careful analysis and we don't take one individual message as truth, but we see it over a long period of time. The problem is we get a message today and signed by someone famous and say, oh, look, oh, wow, what's he saying? Yeah, let's do what he or she is saying. That no, that's not the right attitude. The right attitude is, okay, let's read it. Let's see. Yes, it seems to be a good message. Fine. If that spirit is really trying to, pretend to be someone for the group, so he'll come back. He'll try it again and again. But one day, a sentence, the word he used, or will betray him or her. So we see over a period of time, we look at that. Yeah, if it's a pure spirit, will always be, straight to the point, without, flattering anyone. Or so we see, we evaluate that. The problem is when we start to like what the Spirit is saying about us. Oh yes, we find wonderful mediums here in this group. And no, I want you to be the best mediums, and we'll have a mission for you. Our mission is an individual mission here, except for very few. The mission we have here is to transform ourselves. If I'm in a spiritist group, it's not to take spiritism to the whole world and me, ahead. And no, it's first and foremost for me to transform myself, to take the imperfections we carried in this world, work on them, and when I get out, I get out slightly better when looking at all these imperfections. This is the first purpose of, getting Spiritism in our lives, working within the Spiritism, doing, mediumship work. We think that, oh, we are helping the poor spirits. They come and, no, we are helping ourselves. We are learning from them. We are learning from their situation. Yes, we are giving our contribution, but we are being offered an opportunity to see the results of our good actions, our bad actions, and sometimes even prevent us from being, like them in the future, and changing, our path in the right direction because of those examples. So in every place we find, even when we are giving something of us, we are being blessed by the lessons that come with that. As someone said the other day, when you do something for someone, your return is already in the the good feelings that you feel when you do that without expecting anything. When you see the joy in the face of the person who receives that, not expecting the person to do something to acknowledge that you are a wonderful, charitable person. No, you already receive why you are doing that and see the impact of your, good actions in the lives of other people. So it's the same here. When we do work, when we study the doctrine and propose for ourselves to become better, not to impose on others. Now the world has to be like this because Spiritism, no. Give people the opportunity to come, to learn from Spiritism, and then they will naturally, today, tomorrow, in a decade, in a century, they will take what they received and that will germinate. But we don't know when. The good spirits don't impose things on us. We shouldn't impose things on people. So, so going back to what Priscilla said here, yes, some spirits, they try to do that. If they're not very intelligent, they will, show their real nature in the first communication. If they are very clever, they might disguise who they are for a while, but sooner or later we can hide ourselves, forever, and then they'll betray themselves. And the problem is not to take every message and as the final truth or, total rubbish. Just evaluate it, give it a certain mark, and keep it there. If it is consistent, it will come back, and the truth will be known by so many different ways. Hi, Charles.
Yes, Munir, I would even add that it is not so extreme or not so rare, because even when you look around us amongst incarnated people, the one who wants to sell you something, or who wants to convince you to something, or wants to manipulate you, he will tell you a lot of truth. And then he tells a lot of truth to build trust. And then he comes with the false things. So it's a very well-known technique, and it doesn't need to be so intelligent, you know. So what's happening amongst incarnated can also happen with discarnated. And they betray themselves exactly when they start influencing us in the wrong way. And that is when, if we are, how to say, if we pay attention, this is where we will detect them.
Yeah, that's why, going through the message is so important. As I said before, is the only safeguard that we have, or the best safeguard that we have, in order not to be fooled by spirits, and also not to let our pride, our vanity take over when they say, "Oh, we were wonderful." No, when they praise us, let's reject any praise or whatever they may say that will, basically, excite our imperfections. Hi, Elsie.
Very important what Charlie said. Very important. I think we was almost we must read, study the Spiritist book, in a special medium's book. We must that. Then maybe we sleep no bleed, have mistakes, and that happens. Man, it's a good. I think it's almost is a good medium, because this medium know, or maybe I must change something myself, because this is as a kind of milk, a kind of humildade. I forgot the word, sorry.
Humility. Yeah.
And yes, humility to in self, and it's always this is a positive, essential life. I understood. The good spirits come and help that medium sleep and kind of a contact of this kind of spirits. Sorry, they always put every pace they can. In the morning when we wake it, they observe us all the time to attack, to use us when we are in the mediumship meeting. So this is normal, almost normal in the world we live in. We don't need to be, what I do is mine, only mine. No. It's only, not only us. This is because situation hurts our planet, go in this time all over the world. So we must be not so afraid, but we must adaptation. We always, when we be with Belgium, because it's very, very important. Our contact with our guide, angel guide, and angel, our angel.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned something very important.
It's difficult. Yes, it's difficult.
Yeah, you mentioned study. Study is very important.
Exactly.
What we are doing here, studying the book. And when we finish the book, we'll start again. Because it's never too much to remind ourselves of the important points. So the study, with the practice, then is essential. Practice without study, or only study without practice, is not enough. the right thing to do is to do both, because then we'll be prepared to.
And one protection, so wonderful protection is Evangelium.
Gospel.
To do
gospel.
Gospel home always. Or if it's possible,
Yes.
every day. Every day. You don't need to read, it's too much. No. A little here and be because this is a good, very good protection to us, medium, and to all our what we live in and works also. This is very, very important.
Another very important point. We all have a guide, a supervisor, an elderly brother, we could say, or elderly sister in the spirit world, who are more evolved than we are, and who are in constant contact with us. It's we who unplug, from them, and not them. They are always there. Whenever we want to listen to them, they are there. They will inspire us. They will guide us through life, giving us, as we said before, inspiration. They won't force anything on us because we need to learn to make the right decisions. You can't expect someone to learn to make the right decisions, taking the decisions for them, So tell me what to do. No, you have to learn what is the best thing to do in this situation. So think, if you do this may happen. If you do that, that may happen. And you already have this, have that. So what do you think? But we normally take, and sometimes we're not happy with the inspiration. We go and ask, all the people who are at the same level that we are, who will probably make the same mistakes that we make without, the inspiration from. So we should learn to listen to these spirit guides. He's not there on vacation, on holidays. They are not there as bureaucrats sitting behind a desk and, leaving us here on our own just to say that we have a guide, a spirit guide. No. They are constantly in action. And we should learn. Funnily enough, I listened to a talk by Raul Teixeira, the Brazilian medium, last night, and he was exactly about that, the constant contact that we have with our spirit guide, and it's constant. It's their task in this life, and he says, perhaps in the spirit world and in other incarnations as well. For some of us, the same one will be with us. So it very much depends, but all of us, we have our spirit guide, and the gospel in the home at least once a week, at least, to have that moment. Doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be something very, complicated. No, it's just a time to be quiet. As he said before, nowadays, we don't have quiet times for ourselves. If we are home, we are listening to some music, the TV is on, or we are on the phone talking to someone, or, we need some time where we are quiet, that quiet place that Jesus mentioned. Go to that quiet place when you want to pray. He's basically said, keep a quiet moment for yourself, then you can communicate with your guide, with a higher order spirits. Otherwise, if you are too busy in a very noisy environment, you won't have that peace, that quiet place to connect you. Well, we won't have time to start this message here by Massillon. Let's leave it for next week. Who's going to do the irradiation today?
I'll do it, Monier.
Okay, Pablo, I'll stop recording then, and then you can start.